Anyway, Serge, look what I had to do to your Chablis. You know these ice cubes that have their plastic and they're filled with water inside? So they don't leak.
Really?
Yes.
I never saw that. I never saw that.
Oh God, they have them at the grocery. They're like $2. They're the best things ever because they don't have any flavor and they don't break the glass because like the rocks and stuff, they can sometimes break the glasses. So I've done that, and then I have the Chablis sitting in an ice bath here because I just got it this afternoon. And it's delicious. It is.
Yeah, it's 2017, right?
It is.
Yeah.
Charlene Nicole.
Yeah, Charlene Nicole. Yeah, Charlene Nicole.
Okay, so let's get started. I know everybody wants to ask questions of you, but let's first have our planned kind of topics because it'll cover a lot of what people are interested in. And the first thing that I want you to talk about is about the entire thing that you do, and not just that, but like the challenges that go along with doing what you do. And some of that has to do with the 3-tier distribution system and the limits on that. And then some of it has to do with, we'll talk about, how the tariffs were killing your business. And now hopefully it is the opposite of that. But I just give us like the overview of what an importer does. We've talked to you about this before, but I want you to do it again if you don't mind.
Sure. Listen, you just mentioned, Elizabeth, the 3-tier system. Let's start this way because this is the way that the US has been constructed. So the role of the importer, of course, it's to import. That means at the same time in our business, it's the person that goes and hunt any kind of product that is on earth. It happens to be in wines as far as I am concerned. So my job has been since early 80s to go and hunt suppliers, to discover suppliers. Go, in the 80s, you were getting the cheapest flight tickets you could get, and then you were renting a cheap car, and you had a map on the right side of the car discovering a region. Those were the days. I mean, that's, today when we think the way we're talking today, it is fabulous compared to what it was. But it was very charming because at the same time, you were discovering all the landscape of an area, either, I don't know, in Bordeaux on the left bank, it is flat as flat can be. The highest elevation is about 30 feet above the sea level. So what is that? You get into the Rhone Valley and then you have the Alps behind you. All that sort of things. You see the Mediterranean. You don't really understand the Mediterranean unless you really take the time and you drive around and you open the windows and you smell the aromas of the region, the garrigue that we talk about all the time. You have to be there to really smell it. Then eventually you have the breeze from the ocean, so you have the salt that's being mixed with that, and that's what the region is all about. And so that is the real essence of being the importer. Go find producers. Well, then fast forward, you do this all the time. You go back and you go back and you go back. And because you meet Elizabeth, that is a producer in Vacaras. Well, Elizabeth happens to be married to a guy that has a sister that is married to a guy that is in Gigondas. Serge, have you ever tasted Gigondas? You said, no, never heard of it. Hold on a second, we'll call it. Because now we're talking farmers, we're talking the country here. And even though it sounds that it's very far, the guy's 10 minutes from the other one. So he shows up with a bottle, and then you sit down. And then from there, it has a domino effect to always talk to one, introduce you to the other one. And by asking questions, because you always have to play stupid a little bit sometimes, asking, dummy question because you really want to know the truth, or you ask the same question to different people to really, from there, you can guide yourself. So this is what I would like to have. And at the same time, so, okay, I like this, that makes sense, it's technically well done. Could I sell it? Could I sell it? Because now this is the role of the importer. Could I sell it to a wholesaler? Does the wholesale industry, because now you have the first tier, that would be the importer, that technically sells to the wholesaler. And the wholesaler is the one who has access to restaurants and stores. Okay, what state are you in? Are you in the south? Are you in the north? Are you in the middle? Are you in the west? I mean, where are you? What do people consume? Is there a need for that type of wine? Do people like this kind of wine? Because it can be fun. I mean, you know, you can dance all night long and say, "Oh my God, I discovered the best wine I ever tasted in my life." Can I sell it? Who's going to buy it? Who's going to buy it? And give you examples. In the mid 90s, I brought on my own plenty of wines from the Loire Valley, some Cabernet Franc from the Loire Valley. I always loved and have a special passion for that region. I couldn't sell it. I mean, we drank all of this and we give it away. I mean, we did everything because remember you had that green pepper at that time that we're talking about. So if you had the right of food and the right supplier, it was working, but it was not for everybody. And I brought that, I sold that to a wholesaler over here in New York. And you know, every week he was asking me, say, "Okay, Serge, who's going to buy this now? You got to help me selling this." And we lowered the price, and we never sold it. We just had party with it. And it took another 15 years before I went back and said, "Okay, let's do it again." As you and I, we've tasted recently. Well, because of the climate change, well, everything changed. Everything changed in the Loire Valley, and it's really, really the region of France that is benefiting of that climate change for the red wines. But be careful now. If we gain in Fahrenheit, would be about 5 degrees Fahrenheit temperature. And that makes the entire difference since 1917, 18, we started to see a difference. All right. Well, at the same time, at the same region, the same climate, you have the famous Sauvignon Blanc that is being produced in Touraine or Sancerre, that kind of stuff. If you go back and taste once, or remember, if you take your notes about 10 years ago in Sancerre and today, same suppliers, same everything at the same place, you say, "Oh, hold on. This is not the same thing here." Because that temperature, I mean, now the Sauvignon Blanc does not appreciate that as much. It's getting overripe.
Well, you know, it's really interesting. You sent me a bottle of just Von Ordinaire, the Fleur de Lis, or
Yeah.
or Sauvignon de Lis, or whatever it's called. And it tasted, I was like, wow, this could be from New Zealand, like a restrained version of New Zealand wine. And I would never expect that from Loire, but
But they're hard to find. That means they have a very cold soil. That means the soil over there is still okay. But if you go a bit further east and you get into a Sancerre with the mountain, and 10 years or 15 years ago, when you're having wines from the Terre Blanche, on top of the mountain, everybody wanted to be there. So, "Oh my God, this is the Romani Conti of the Sancerre when I'm there." Well, today,
tough.
I'm not sure. It's a great bottle of wine. Am I in Sancerre? Well, as we're getting older, you say, always go back to memory. You say, that's not what I remember. It's a different kind of wine. So that is the role of the importer. That's my job, to be there. And I've been doing this, 4 or 5 times per year for, I don't know, 30 years. I'm always in France. I mean, it's easier for me to drive in France than to drive around here sometimes. I mean, I know, and I know the family, and I had the chance, to see parents, grandparents, kids. I have a family that I told you about many times, the Aubert family. The girls all call me their American dad. And when I want to know something, I call them. This morning I was on the phone with Stéphane de Renoncourt because he has created the label with Michel de Ronan and that kind of stuff, and we knew each other from I told you that in the past. He's my mentor, and I found him. He was at home in Normandy with his mom and dad because they're sick and so long. This is how close I got to those people. I mean, they're friends. It's family.
Well, so wait, okay. Let me ask you this. Do you think that you have always worked with small family wineries? For a long time, it has only been you. Finally, you're bringing some family into the operation, but I mean, it's mostly just you. So do you think that other importers, I mean, big importers don't have the kinds of relationships that you have, right?
It's a different one. The big importers, I mean, I'm sure at one point you've got to have that human relation at some point. I can't imagine doing business without having that. You got to have that. And we are in the wine business. What is wine? Wine is friend, table, family, that kind of stuff. So still in the wine business, and I don't care what kind of wine it is, you've got to have that minimum of that relation. But when you are dealing and buying for the country, and you go there with a checkbook that is entirely open, and you go to buy 20 containers to have it exclusive for you, well, that's not what I do.
Yeah. No, well, I mean, who could, that takes a lot. And then you're doing that for a lot of different people, and it gets, I don't know. I mean, I can't imagine like being a buyer for Total Wine or one of the, where you're just pushing people on price all the time. And, I mean,
That's
we've talked
another.
about that before. So actually, you know what? Why don't you talk about that? Because we will not talk about how we know each other or how we got introduced, but that particular organization does push you a lot on price because that's a big deal. And
If they can get a quarter of a penny, they'll take it.
right. So what does that, like, could you talk about what the downstream effect is? In other words, like, you have this producer and now everybody is nickel and diming. And you can also talk about our friend, and I will not say his last name, Aldo was his name, correct?
I
just want people to understand, I guess, what the background dynamic is, and also what goes on in the world of importing, because it is also, I know you guys are always saying, you say to me, oh my gosh, why do you always say that wine is dirty or this and that? Well, I showed you one side of that with the producer side, right? If you all have seen with Randy Meyer, what we talked about with Big Wine. And if you have not watched that, go on YouTube and watch it, because he tells you everything. I mean, he tells you everything that he used to be doing when he worked for Big Wine. And I shared some stories too. And we were both like, oh yeah, totally. And then this and this too, right? So like, this is just like well-known secrets of the trade, but there are also these import secrets. So can you share some of those too?
Well, the import secret, I see, because I have that
You gotta
relation.
you gotta talk about our friend who I had to ride in the train with.
But we can talk about that because they are retailers. Because now we're still on the import side, because you have the retail, the importer, the wholesaler, and now let's make something clear. Every wholesaler in America has an import license. You gotta have it. That's the way it works. It's all taxes. It's all different words to call taxes. And then you have to be a wholesaler to invoice another wholesaler and that kind of stuff. So when I sell to a retailer that eventually sell to consumer, so I took care of the first tier of the system, and he is the only one. After that, unfortunately I cannot retail. So the pros and cons on dealing with small producer. Well, I go there and you see them, they see the family, and the guy tells me, Serge, okay, I do have this cork. I would ask him, so there you go. I would ask him, so listen, we work on the label, we got a better paper, we got all this, but you put all the trust of your life on a cork. So, oh my God. And now we're talking about 5 cents, 7 cents, 10 cents difference. And he says, Serge, I can do it. And then this is it. I mean, this is the minimum cost because it's more expensive. Taxes are more expensive in France. The cardboard is more expensive. They went through a few strikes. The printer is more expensive to create the label. You wanted to have a fancier label. I paid for the paper. All right. That has to stop. You say, okay, so I am in the middle. I'm dealing with the euro and the US dollar. Right. Well, that is because the consumer at the end, I was told that, Elizabeth, years ago by the guy who makes all my payments to my suppliers. And years ago, it said, Serge, my budget for a bottle of wine is $14.99. Every day after work, I stop and I spend $14.99. If you raise the price by 50 cents on that wine, I will not buy it anymore. So why is that? Because, and this line was very simple, it said, Serge, because there are so many wines worldwide that $14.99 will always cover what I like. So, okay, and that hasn't changed much. It is changing today with the millennials. The millennials think different way, and it is okay, and they wouldn't understand. But the older generation, absolutely not. So I am in the middle. So when you see a dollar, I paid some bills this morning. Well, I just lost 5% on the margin that we're making, and that goes somewhere in the world. I mean, I don't know where the hell it goes. But if I want to pay the suppliers, I own 10,000 euros. I have to give him 10,000, and I have to buy it. That is the import side. Okay, right. Because then I buy in euro and then I sell in dollars. So the wholesaler doesn't see that. And him, so I'm always in between two chairs. Who do I please? So I don't understand. My poor producer, I cannot squeeze in more than I've been asking. Some people haven't raised their price in 4 years. Said, Serge, can I get 5 cents more? And I said, poor you. I was paying your bills $1.10 last year, and now the euro is at 1.22. Where do you think? Do you want an order? Because it is okay. We can talk about. I cannot pay more, because at the end, the wholesaler said, no, because the consumer will not pay more than $14.99. Our market says this for that. I'll give you a perfect example. If you put some Beaujolais, Cru de Beaujolais on shelf, which is one of, come on, if there's a region that is beautiful, that is perfect, the ones that are outstanding, you want a value. I was telling to a friend of mine last night, you go to a restaurant, you open the wine list and you don't really understand the wine list, you don't recognize anything. So go to Beaujolais. You cannot make mistake. It's impossible. And any good sommelier on earth would ask you, and he's not sure, any good sommelier will take you to that region. Well, now go in a store, put I don't know, a Morgon, Moulin Avant, Fleury, put this at $24.99. $24.99. Let's stop for a second. If you go to a restaurant and you're having 2 cheap glasses of wine tonight, you and I, 2 cheap red glass, we're going to pay $10 to $11 per glass, plus tax and service. That's a lot more than $24.99.
Right.
And you can have that bottle, that Morgon that is out of this world. People don't want to pay for it because people don't understand.
I think that's true. I think there's there's an education piece to it, but I think the currency fluctuation is super interesting, right? Like, I mean, what you're saying about that, I don't usually talk about that much, but that does wind up kind of killing it, right?
It's a big issue.
Yeah. And then the other thing though, is that there are people that just don't, there are importers, again, I'm just pressing you on this, that don't pay. Like they will just take shipments and not pay, right?
Yeah, but yes, and I've witnessed that. It happened. I've seen it. I've witnessed it. But at the same time, if suppliers have entrance that it can take, it costs them 0.75% or something like this on their invoice, and it will be insured.
Right.
In France, you have two major ones. The major one is called the COFAS. And some suppliers, when first time that they're selling to me, said, Mr. Doré, I'm sorry, I have to raise the price by 1% because I have to put insurance. And I understand, because they say, if it's not that, you have to prepay the order.
Right.
Prepay the order, and that we have no problem with that. So I said, hold on a second, that does not really work. So we negotiate and we make it work. So that's the way. But there's plenty of poor guys, that don't know about the insurance, and they're being charmed by a guy that looks good and this and that, and I'm going to make you, you're going to become the winery of the world and that kind of stuff. Get me a pallet. The guy ship a pallet, pays a pallet. Second order, 2 pallets. There we go. And then suddenly now the big order comes in, 500 cases. The poor guy in Europe says, oh, I made it. I am in America. I am selling wines to America. And he shares this to all of his friends at the bistro with the coffee. I guarantee you. 6 months down the road, the friend would ask him, so how does it go with your American guy? Well, I'm still waiting for the payment. And then some guys over here in America would tell them, so listen, I'm going to make you an offer. I owe you $100,000. I'm going to offer you $50,000. Right now, you're going to get a payment, and then we're done. So now the poor guy says, no. It cost me a lot more than that just to produce the wines. So I'm going to sue you. So the guy is having fun. So, well, go for it. Find a lawyer from France, find a lawyer in the US. You're going to have to put money in. You're going to lose it all. So you have no option. So the poor guy is losing it. So that's kind of the system. So
what would if you were going to change it though to something better, what would you do? I mean, like, I feel like the wholesaler is very clunky. I think there's some need for it because they aggregate, but they also add a lot of part of my issue with the wholesalers is that they are the gatekeepers a lot of times between us and like your wines, right? So we can't get everything. I mean, some of the problem is that we can't get everything because, it's the state laws and you have to get permits and blah, 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 blah. And so I think that sucks. That's one. And two, I think that the wholesalers also, especially the large wholesalers, as they've consolidated their power, have just become so like, they're just too powerful, and they wind up making choices for us without us we don't even know we don't even know that is happening, right?
Yeah, Elizabeth, when you were in New York, and me, I arrived in the country in 1993, and And the little company that I worked for, we were wine guys. There was two companies in New York those days. It was Lauber and Paramount Brands, and we're competing, but we were all friends at the same time. We'd meet on the market, we'd meet in a restaurant and talk about this. We were all in the business. We were in the wine business. Today, we are more into the commodity business. Okay, and the big wholesalers you're mentioning, I mean, they have the power. They hire kids. Go and go Tiger. That's the line that I go Tiger.
So we used
Go
to
go.
say, from the large winery, they would hire people, especially for retail, that would smash their head through a brick wall for the company without thinking about it. That was who they looked for specifically. And then what happened to those people, very interestingly, is that as they, progressed through the company, because they never left, they still had that same mentality. They never got like the critical thinking skills of being like, maybe this industry is really, so I think like it just keeps going like that. It doesn't ever change. People are trying, but it's really frustrating. And I know that there are people here that are thinking like, I can't get Serge's wines.
Come on, hey Margaret. When I started because when I arrived, I worked as for the wholesaler as a sales guy. I had to understand what the market was all about. All right, become an importer. Okay, sell to a wholesaler. All right, and I was having maybe 250 wines at a wholesaler. And again, those Lauber and those Paramount people were selling the one. They were having fun with it because the line was very simple. Take care of your clients. So you go to a store and you say, okay, man, you got to have diversity. Look, you have 7 wines. It's all the same grape varietal, and they're all in Magnum. You losing money. There's no reason to have all this. Let us. And this is the mentality that I work with, the culture that the guys had, and they were helping the retailer to be more open, bring new wines, taste new wines, do have a wine program. Today, those ones, my God, those ones are all gone. The amount of restaurants that would call me and said, Serge, I still have Chateau La Confession 1999. I mean, I saw that on my wine list. Where is that today? No idea. No idea where you can find it. It's gone. But at the same time, it's business. Things are evolving. Things are changing. We're just getting out of a huge pandemic where 2 years ago we used to go to a retailer and buy a bottle of wine. Today you buy it online. I mean, the business is online.
Good, right? I mean,
that is excellent. That is excellent because for me online.
Give your plug for where people can get all your wines.
There's plenty, and because of you, Wine Access, and this is the future.
They don't have every one of your wines. There's Dodds, right?
No,
I mean, Dodds.
This is a platform that to me is the future because Vanessa, again, your friend Master Wines, the way they select the wines, and I became a customer of them, and it's one email that I really open and enjoy reading because it's all about the information, and the way that they put the information together is so good. I love it. That's talking to me. And that's talking to the new generation too. They want to be informed because problem going to a store, you have a guy that is behind the counter and the guy is waiting for you to walk with your bottle, put on there. He doesn't say hello, no thank you. He just put his hand like this waiting for your credit card. Don't ask something about the wine to the guy. They don't know what they have.
Yeah, so, and the element, I think the other thing, the thing that I like about shopping online is that you can take time to research. Absolutely. Like you don't have to buy, there might be 4 or 5 different wines there and you can take time to research. So you're not forced to make a decision right away. And some of them, I mean, look, right. I don't order from like massive retailers. They're all kind of local. Of course, they're all in like New York and New Jersey because that's who ships everywhere. But, I love my local stores, but a lot of times they don't have some of the stuff that I want to get. And if I'm looking for something very specific or I'm looking for a certain tier of product, they may not carry it. So I think it's really an interesting thing. We have a couple questions. Let me stop and take the questions. First one is, do you have a storefront in Westchester? We know that.
Yeah, absolutely, Bobby.
Yeah, so Dodds, right?
Yeah, Dodds, absolutely.
Dodds is essentially Serge's pass-through. So they'll
absolutely. He will ship anywhere in the country.
Well, if they wanted to go to a store, though, Dodds will also
Absolutely.
carry
Well,
your stuff.
well, any store. No, if you're in New York, New Jersey, and now in Connecticut, you can go to any local store and ask for a specific product. You ask for it, and the retailer will contact us or any other wholesaler. You want something, the name of the importer is always on the back of the label. It's right there. So it's easy to find out who's selling the wines, and then they will just contact, and that's it. It's very simple. They,
I
they,
love
they,
the
they, they call us, and
Marcel?
they go on 750. We have that platform now, and they order the wine, and it's there the day after.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to have somebody who's like flexible and not annoying, because sometimes people are like, oh, it's going to take me blah blah blah, and they don't know how to do it. But I do agree that, if you got somebody, you should be able to do that. Okay, so Douglas asked, do you think a smaller market can still acquire unique non-cookie cutter wines if an importer really dedicates him or herself to getting them? So in other words, like, Douglas lives in Chicago. He doesn't really have a big problem getting great wines there. However, if he lived in Des Moines, it might be a little bit harder, or
It's more
even
complicated.
someplace like, in the middle of the country, like some smaller city in Illinois or something like that, or where he is, or Indiana or something. Is it just not possible to get good wines if you're in a place that doesn't have, big market?
I cannot answer. I cannot answer. I cannot answer because I can just only assume. I mean, there are good wines in the Midwest. There are good wines everywhere. But how many guys like me will go to Des Moines to find a wholesaler, that kind of stuff and things like that? You say, okay, cost wise, cost effective. Does it make sense to do all of this? And at the same time, when you bring it, when you bring a new wine, oh my God, hold on a second. Let's talk about the salespeople. How does a wine get into a store? It's a salesperson. Okay, we're going to talk about this. Nobody has a fixed salary. It's on commission. Okay, so hold on a second. Let's plan a day. You have 10 stores you're going to visit, and you have 6 samples with you, and 3 of them are totally unknown wines, meaning you really have to sell the wine to that retailer. The retailer will ask you, and so, okay, let me taste the wine. Do I have a need of this on my shelves? Yes or no? No one ever asked me, Loire Valley? Where is that? Where is that? I don't know where that. So you have to. So now the sales guy has to provide all the information to sell 6 bottles of wine. Okay, but and that's the truth.
It is the truth.
And now you say, hold on a second here. I'm walking out of there. I have to walk home tonight, and I have to make money. It's like when you wait in a restaurant. You're living on tip. You say, hold on a second. I have 5 tables. This is what I need to do to make today to feed the family. Well, if you're a sales guys on the road and you paid on commission and you sell 6 bottles and it took you an hour over there, say, never again in my life. I'd rather go and take an order for 10 cases a month. Much easier. And because if I just go there, I walk in 10 minutes out of there, I'm out of there with an order of 10 cases, I can make 20 accounts.
Right.
That's also reality.
Well, we won't even talk about, if you work for certain distributors, they will also incentivize you. I don't really think that's a word, even though people use it all the time. They will give you incentives to sell certain products. They'll offer you trips places, and so then people can do deep discounting. Their incentives are not aligned in our favor. It's not like for meeting the wine buyers. Like, it's not like people are looking for Serge's wines. They're looking for what's the best deal that I can get on whatever I'm looking for. And the idea is that I think a lot of people think everything is replaceable, but a couple of people are saying that they're drinking your wines. I'm drinking your wines. I mean, nothing tastes like a real product. You know what I mean? A product from one of your producers that is small. I mean, I've never, I love the Chinon. I love that Vouvray, the Bourgogne Vouvray. I am now in love with this Chablis. Nothing else tastes like that. So it is frustrating because you can't it's not replaceable. However, the idea is that, in the mentality is that for stores is that they're always looking for something cheaper and
easier to sell. But I think, Elizabeth, that is starting to change, because again, the millennials, and I believe so much in millennials, I mean, I have a daughter who's part of that group, and I believe in them, the power that they have, because they're not shopping the same way on anything. They want to be informed. You just said yourself 2 seconds ago, you're buying online because it takes you time to research the product. Well, millennials don't buy anything being impulsive. The impulsive buy, that's kind of bye-bye. I mean, I think that segment of the market is shrinking all the time because you got to be informed. So that being said, I mean, now the retailer will have no option because he has a millennial that walk into the store and said, "This is what I'm looking for. Do you have this? Because if you want to keep me as a customer, you better start to bring that kind of stuff." And people will change. And you know, it's a circle. I think we went from a generation in the 90s where in the 80s, 90s, where you really had wine people on the street and proud to have a bag and said, "I just can't wait to go and see that guy is going to buy this because I know he's going to sell that there." And that was fun. Now we kind of flipped all of this because of the globalization of the wholesale system. But then what does that do? It generates some smaller wholesaler to start. And like I do, you take the bag and you go and see the account yourself, and you start building the business.
Yeah, I mean, it really is funny. We talk about this with the producer side too, is that sometimes, and it doesn't happen all the time because it's getting harder, not in France, this is in California. It's getting harder for people to like stay away from large producers because they're just sucking up, like all of Napa Valley is owned, right? There's so few, a couple people recently have been like, "Hey, where should I go? Like, where's the small producers in Napa Valley?" I'm like, I don't know anymore. I can't tell you, they're owned by everybody. Like when I was we did a podcast this week on the Paris tasting, on the Judgment of Paris. And it was like, I went through the list in the show notes, and there were like 5, some of the reds are not owned, but like every single white property except Chateau Montelena is owned by someone else now. They're all owned by investors. They're all owned. They've all sold out. So like, but some people also believe that as those big companies, as people like sell out, or as the big companies take over, there's more room for people to be like, "Look, screw it, I don't want to do this anymore." And so they're smaller people. So it's a cycle. It'll just be interesting to see how it shakes out. It's all about supplier power, right? I mean, it's this very strange dynamic. Eveline says that she needs you to import to Canada, preferably Alberta.
Okay, so her name is Eveline Chartier. So with a French like this, she's French Canadian. She's probably from Montreal somewhere. And
she's shaking her head. All right, no, Eveline, this is your chance. Talk to your countrymen.
Bonjour, Eveline.
Bonsoir, Serge. No, I'm from Manitoba, actually. So
really?
Yeah, but I now live in Alberta. I've been living out west for too many years. Yeah.
Okay.
I need you to import to Canada.
Yeah, but come on, but I know the Winnipeg, I know the Manitoba because again, I was Canadian. I'm Canadian, but I was working for Shelley Canada, and I even went to the PAW festival. How about that?
Wow.
Okay, so now, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to search something, you want to go to a real carnival, you know where you're arriving, you know the first day, then after that, you black out and you come out somewhere, you're going to find yourself somewhere. That's the PAW Carnival. It's something like 500 miles north of Winnipeg. And wintertime, it's minus 45. So the amount of alcohol that you consume is beyond being human. So, but Winnipeg, yeah, come on. Louis Riel, so long. This is so proud. So proud. And you have such a beautiful accent.
Merci.
Oh, no. So
my French or English accent?
No, your French is magnificent. But listen, very interesting. And I know Canada from both coasts. There's not a retail store that I haven't visited in my life. I've done them all. I know all the province, the territories, all of them. Because I'm Canadian, and now this is the Canadian mentality. Because I'm Canadian, when I call ex-colleagues from Vancouver that will take care of British Columbia and Alberta, a guy in the Midwest, which is Yorkshire, a guy from Ontario, a guy from Quebec, they're scared that I'm going to steal something from them. And I'm calling them and saying, I have this guy, he's dying to go at that place. I'm just offering it to you. And the first time I'll fly with him, I'll go with him, I will introduce to make sure that everybody just never conclude anything.
Really? Well, we should talk. Maybe I can connect you with some people.
Look, get it, Eileen, you got to get in line because there's people, and I know that there are people, especially in Montreal, who are chomping at the bit for Serge's wines, but it's just hard. I mean, it's hard enough in the US, right, Serge?
But but the Quebec. I was at the Quebec liquor board myself. When was it? Well, it's a year ago, or something like this. And again, I knew all the system over there. I worked for years with them, that kind of stuff. It is complicated. It's a beautiful market for French wines. I mean, if there's an open door in America, it's that little province called Quebec. I mean, there's more Pinot Noir consumed in the province of Quebec than all the rest of the continent. Simple as that.
It's amazing. I did a client event. I did a couple of events for a Canadian client last year. I do like speaking and teaching and stuff like that. And it was an online event, and the clients were in Canada. And I select the wines when I do client events. I select them, hand pick all of them and give people the wine list and say, order these. And the difference between, we did wines, I can't remember, we did a Bordeaux maybe, the difference in like the availability and cost in Quebec and Montreal and even in Ontario versus BC, it was horrendous. It was absolutely awful. I think we did have somebody in Manitoba. It was so awful. It was like the worst. And I realized how, although the state system does work sometimes, how like punitive it is the farther you get away from Quebec. Like for French wines, the price for the same bottle was like $5 Canadian dollars more, or even more for the same bottle, because it's all province pricing.
Okay.
Isn't that crazy?
Oh, no, it is not. No,
it is, but it's not.
It's called Medicare.
Yeah. Oh,
everybody talks about the system that there is in Canada, that kind of stuff, and you go to hospitals and you have a card in your pocket with the sun on it, and there's no copay, there's nothing. So the money has to come from somewhere, and it's all the sales of cigarettes.
Is it really fair that it's less money in in Ontario than it is in BC? I mean, that doesn't seem right if the state is going to. BC has a lot of private stores these days,
they do, like Alberta. So it's very competitive. It's a different market. You cannot
it's still not there, right? Eileen, it's not quite there, right? I mean, in terms of deprivatizing.
It's improved a lot.
Yeah.
But there's have-nots and have provinces. And so it is super complicated. So I hear what Serge is saying.
Yeah. Serge, wait, you've got another question from Ashley, who asked, what is the most unique experience with a producer you've ever had? She is a farmer, and she knows that they can be unique people. And I think that this goes along with another question that I want you to answer, because you and I talk about this a lot. And if you mention Languedoc, a call is immediately over. But what are the unsung areas that, what are the small areas? I mean, I think this goes along with it, like the farmers and the ideas of like, great experiences that you've had. You've told some good stories on the podcast about Burgundy, which we'll talk about. I think that'll sort of be our wrap up question. But like, what is a great experience, the best experience that you can remember? And also, what are some areas where you're like, gosh, why don't people know about this? Beaujolais is one of them, but I know there's a bunch of places that you feel very passionately about in the Rhone that people don't really know. So give us the insights, please.
Okay. The greatest, I think coming to because there's so many that we can talk about Greek wines or Italian wines, but let's focus on France. And I do believe that it was with Mr. Alain Aubert, that I've met in 1994. And first we have met over here in Manhattan, and he had heard my name because he was looking for someone to buy wines, and I was buying wines from Bordeaux a lot at that time. And he's a family owner. So this is the same family that was telling that the three daughters are calling me their American dad. And
but Annalie was on the podcast too.
Yeah, that's it. Well, her dad. It is her dad, her parents, but mostly the dad. And you'll see where I'm going with this. So eventually, fast forward, I am in France, going to visit them, and it is in the spring, and he takes me in the Jeep, and it's muddy, it's rainy, it's ugly, and then it takes me, so, but I'm going to show, he always has something to show you. And whenever I go there, there's always, get in the truck, we're going to see something. Now you have guns under the seat, a fishing rod next to him, a coffee cup that is probably 5 years old. I mean, it is a Jeep. I mean, it's a dump. But now when he gets into this, that means it's working. This is farming. So that day we climb on a plateau, and then he stopped the Jeeps in a way that we are on this plateau and says, "Can you see the Church of Saint-Emilion in front of you there?" I said, "Oh my, yeah, absolutely, yeah, yeah." "Can you see Côte de Castillon over there?" I said, yeah. Well, believe it or not, he said, this is exactly the same altitude as Clos l'Église and Côte de Castillon, which is 3 meters under the Church of Saint-Emilion. So he said, the soil that you have under your feet over here, it is exactly the soil that you would find on the plateau of Saint-Emilion. No, it's absolutely, that's why I bought that vineyard. And I'm looking at the vineyard, oh my God, I said, but you bought this, but this is so old, this is dirty. What are you going to do with this? So what are those? Oh, so I'm going to get rid of all this, Serge. Don't you worry. I'm going to clean this and I'm going to plant some Merlot. So in 10 years from now, we're going to produce. But what are the vines that you have over there? This is Cabernet Franc.
Whoa.
I said, this exactly. I said, Cabernet Franc, and you tell me you're going to get rid of this? I said, the vines seem so old. I said, it's anything between 80, 100, 120 years old. We don't know exactly what this is all about. So to make a long story short, now we're back in the house and we start to talk. I said, listen, if you want us to be friends, don't ever get rid of this. Just bring this back to life. That's all you have to do. You don't need that piece of land. You're telling me that this is the same soil and the same altitude. I said, Serge, absolutely. Look, I'm going to show you. When the glacier went down and created the Dordogne River, well, it's, the mountains are created by dirt. So he said that created Pomerol, Saint-Emilion, Côte de Castillon, but it's some dirt went on the right side. And this is called the Plateau of Macart. This is it. So we are the same altitude with Cabernet Franc. So I told him, listen, Cabernet Franc is the grape of Saint-Emilion. It never have been the Merlot. It is the Cabernet Franc. Chateau Zone, Cheval Blanc, Solon, they still have at least 50% of Cabernet Franc. He says, yeah. I said, are you serious? He said, if you tell me that we're going to work this together, I'm going to give you my life. I'm going to dedicate everything that I can to this vineyard. We'll bring it back. Give me 15 years. Well, today, this is the bottle of wine that we have under Chateau Ribabon, the Cabernet Franc. That's the juice that comes from there. It is one of the most beautiful vineyard that was converted from a dump.
Are you the only importer of Ribibon in the U.S.?
The only importer of what?
Of Chateau Ribibon, whatever the.
No.
So you're not, okay, because I saw it down here.
They produce Chateau Ribabon in total. They produce, oh my God, maybe 45, 50,000 bottles or something like this. But the wine that I do have, it's not the same blend and the juice is not the same because I could send you a picture of mom and dad because mom, the mother, takes care of the vineyard that produced the ones for Serge. And we have the tank with my name on it, Serge Tank. Okay, so this is the Cabernet Franc here, this is the Merlot, and she's the one because she's a pharmacist, so she's also a chemist. So there are two girls that are oenologists, but mom was a pharmacist. So she taught everything to the kids. Okay, and she knows the land. So in between her and Alain, I am safe like you have no idea. And that would be so when you buy the bottle of Chateau Ribabon, mine on the label, it says Famille Alain Aubert. First of all, this is a little strip on top of the label, and it's all reserved. I know that is a classic American word, reserve, but you say, what can we do? I mean, so let's put reserve. And so the reserve, those are my ones.
Okay, that's awesome. So what about these small areas where people don't know that you, every time you scratch your head and go, why don't people know about this? Or things that you feel like you would love to bring in, but you can't sell, but you love. Like, I would love to know that too.
Like the Languedoc. Is that what you mean?
No, just stop with that already. I mean, seriously, every time
Listen, for now, for the last
you know what? We're gonna take a trip there, and if I like even wine, and I'm not talking about Roussillon, by the way, because I do like wines in Roussillon. But if it's in Languedoc and it's not a Vendu Natural, and I like it, then I'm gonna like, I'll pay for your whole trip, I guess. Like I'm gonna have to like, save up a lot of money, or I'm gonna have to hit the lottery.
Can I
and
can
then
I
we'll
send
do that.
can I send you 2 bottles tomorrow?
No.
Come on.
We already tried this. Sorry, you
Oh.
guys. This is an inside joke between the two of us. And
Yeah.
you know what? By the way, I want to say you got really mad at me when we first met at Provine
Right.
in Germany, because I loved all your wines and you were used to me loving all your wines. And then you showed me the Languedoc producer, and I was like, well, no. You were so mad at me. You were
Yeah.
so mad at me. I
Still
couldn't
mad.
love everything. I loved everything except that producer. Everything except that one producer. All right. So no, but really, like, you've got some stunning
Okay.
collage. You've got some. You tell me.
I've been fighting back. I mentioned Beaujolais earlier.
Yes.
And to me, if there's a region in France that deserves attention, it's there. It is the Beaujolais. Why? Let's go back. 25, 30 years ago, we discovered the Beaujolais Nouveau. And the Beaujolais Nouveau was invented because the Beaujolais people are festive. They like to have fun. And they have the grape that goes with it. It's called the Gamay. And they want to, even though geographically they're part of Burgundy, they're not Burgundian at all. They are Beaujolais people. Mentality is different. The geography is different. The color of the house, there you have colors. The shutters are painted in green and in red and in blue and in pink, and you have flowers everywhere. In Bordeaux, in Beaune, you know what? At 9 o'clock at night, everything is closed. There's no more light. Everybody hiding behind, looking at what the neighbor's doing. In Beaujolais, the doors are open, your music is running, and they're having fun. That's Beaujolais. And the wine that they are producing, and now you have generation that went by, and now you have the new generation. Elizabeth, the quality of the wine that they are producing is beyond, it is beyond what I can think. I mean, it is just fabulous. It is well made. They're passionate. They're hardworking. The couple, the husband, the wife, together with the dog, the kids. I mean, that's what they are in. I mean, Jean-Michel Dupré, one of my chouchou guys. I mean, he's in Morgon, but also he has a Beaujolais, Terre Brune that it's called. He has 0.75 hectare of that vineyard, and this is just on top of the village of Beaujeu, which is the heart of the Beaujolais region. You drink that and you say, "Oh my good Lord!" And this is Beaujolais, and we don't know about this. The Morgon, the Fleury, the Moulin à Vent, the Chenas. There's so much to offer. If there's a region that would like to focus, and when I talk to them, I would like to hold them, take them with me, and put them in a plane. Come with me. We're going to travel. We're going to bring that taste back in the mouth of people. But the region is so broke financially, because I tell them all the time, use the Comité Interprofessionnel to promote your wine. They have to do like they used to do 30 years ago. The guys were traveling promoting. Said, Serge, we don't have a penny for that. We can't
$dollars for that.
We can't afford this. And they say, okay, this is okay, guys. So that's if there's a part of France that deserve to be rediscovered, it is the Beaujolais area.
Well, you're going to be really happy, because the podcast on Monday is going to be on Beaujolais and the crew, because I'm 100% with you on this. I think that the new generation has just transformed Beaujolais, but I do also think that it has become wholly accepted that there is something beyond Nouveau in Beaujolais, and that like people are kind of curious. You're right, though. It would be great if they could do like some sort of campaign. Maybe I'll call them. We can do like one of these massive classes, like the free classes that I do. I'm doing one for Bordeaux. I mean, Médoc, of course, has a lot of money. So just as a spoiler alert, in the fall, I'll be doing 2 classes for the wines of Médoc, because the one we did on Alsace was 500 people showed up live, and then thousands have watched it afterwards. And it's
really?
Yes, and it's fantastic. Well, we can talk later about it, but the point is, like, people are interested. They want to know, and I think that that's these unsung areas. I think are amazing, and I do think that people kind of are aware that there's this backstory to Beaujolais, but maybe not. I don't know. You all can tell me.
But again, see, it's interesting, because Burgundy, Beaujolais, they're 2 regions side by side. When you buy a bottle of Vin Romanée, you don't say I buy a bottle of Bourgogne Vin Romanée. You say I buy a bottle of Vin Romanée, period. When we are in the Beaujolais, we don't know the names, the Morgon, the Chenasse, the Saint-Amour, the Moulin à Vent.
We're
We
getting there.
don't know that. And see, in the last 2 years, I got all my guys. We've removed the word that you see in big is their name and Morgon. And the Beaujolais name is just because it is Appellation Beaujolais Contrôlé. That's it. We don't want to talk about Beaujolais because Beaujolais to the older generation, people of my
I
age,
know.
instantly, you say, and I know my father-in-law here in the house. I mean, I say, well, oh my God, I like this. What is it? And I said, it's from the Beaujolais. Oh, it's a Nouveau. Instantly, the word Nouveau comes up. You say, okay.
I don't think that is the case. I think that when Beaujolais crashed in the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, when Nouveau crashed, it was a disaster, and so many people went out of business, and then they had a bunch of bad vintages too, right?
Yep.
Weren't there some bad vintages?
Yep.
And there was just like bad news out of
It
Beaujolais.
was one thing after the other one.
The other problem that they had, which I think they've really rectified, I think they've done a good job, at least with trade, is saying we are not Burgundy. They have separated themselves. One giant disservice that I think happens with Beaujolais over and over again is that the textbooks, people who are studying for exams, have a thing, and Beaujolais is considered part of it. In my book, I wrote okay, I'm putting it here because it's geographically here, but I feel like Beaujolais needs to secede and stop. I know that they are working on stopping some of the relationships with Burgundy producers, but they rely on that for money also, for the basic regional producers. And let's talk about Burgundy now, because I think this is something I have been growing. I'm very concerned about this. So I am pretty convinced that Burgundy, because of the demand from Asia, because it is so small and elite, and because they don't need to be like other regions, that we're done. I mean, we're pretty much normal people are pretty much done. As soon as we start seeing village wines, which used to be $20 US, $22 US 10 years ago. Now they're $50, $45, $50. And the only thing that you can get are the regional wines, which have no distinction, really. I feel like, except for Chablis, is there anything left in Burgundy, really? I don't feel like there is.
You can
Sorry, he's looking for some Chablis.
Burgundy, come on, I'm passionate. I grew up with Burgundy. I mean, my license plate says Burgundy. I mean, to me, because there's wine in the world, and then there's Burgundy.
Right.
But now, to go back to what you were saying, there's nothing else I can add to this. And prices are so excessive. But on top of it, because of all the market, the demand and supply demand, okay. But there has been no supply for so many years on top of it. So as soon as they release something a little bit good, well, the guys, some of them, they are financially like this, so they raise the price, they're going to sell it. And I have offers all the time. I receive offers, but I look at this, who's going to buy this? I said I cannot afford to buy those wines to sell them. I can afford to buy 50 cases of Vonorani Premier Cru, and that goes on shelf at $100. And let's be honest now. I'll tell you, I always have stories. A friend of mine a couple of years ago calls me, a guy from Long Island, calls me, he's in a store in Long Island, and money means absolutely nothing. It's a Saturday afternoon, and it's about 4 o'clock, and he says, Serge, I am the retail store, and tonight I'm in the mood for a Pinot Noir. I am in the store now, and I have options in front of me. I do have some Oregon Pinot Noir from Valley called Willamette, something like that. That cost me $29.99. Next to it, I have Burgundy. I have a Gibbered Chambertin at $125. What should I buy?
Wowza!
I said, listen, it's quite simple. It's for tonight. He says, yeah. I said, buy 5 bottles for the price of one. That's it. That's it. I mean, and everybody around me, we all do the same. I have plenty of friends, and everybody looks, and this is what I wrote to you back today. The last bottle of Burgundy I bought over here for home, maybe 10 years ago, something like this, because it's what I like, the name that I have in the cellar today. It's ridiculous, and you don't have access. There's no bottles.
No,
So you only
I'm
have-
worried. I mean, I really am worried that at some point we're just not going to have access. And did you see, this is another interesting thing, as I was researching for a patron tip, I was I got down a rabbit hole, as I always do, about how they wanted to reassess what could be, the regional Burgundy, and they were going to cut Chablis out of it and the Yonne. They were going to include some portions of Beaujolais that they considered to be similar terroir, but they drew a terroir map and said Chablis was not included in it anymore. And then the guy who was the head of the INAO, said, I am not going to be responsible for cutting Chablis out of Burgundy. I'm not going to do that. So we're not doing this. And they didn't move forward with it. But it is interesting that the bookends of Burgundy are the only places that are affordable. So we have, even Chalonnais is becoming really quite expensive. So we have Chablis, which I don't understand why it's still affordable, but it is. And then we have Macon. And that's all. But in the world of Pinot Noir, I mean, even a basic Beaune, which used to just be a slightly nicer than just a regional wine, it's too expensive. It's just too expensive. I really have a lot of concern for Burgundy. And then, the next frontier besides tackling Macon and Chablis is going to be, I don't even know that I can recommend Chalonnais as value anymore. What do you think about that?
Well, Côte Chalonnaise, no, I think you can still use the Côte Chalonnaise.
For Pinot though?
Yeah, but no, I'm sorry. When I think Côte Chalonnaise, for me, it's white wines. I don't even think.
But for the Pinot, I mean,
but
even the Mercury is.
No, for the Pinot Noir, I don't know where to go. I mean, the Pinot Noir the other day, come on, me, the guy that's talking to you now, I started to buy some Pinot Noir from California.
Okay.
And I
had a Pinot Noir, did the Pinot Noir around the world class. And the number one, there were two that were kind of close. One, Chile. That was Chile. The winner. It was the winner. Really? Chile, and Santa Barbara was number two. So yes. Oh, Chile's.
Chile.
Yes.
Or maybe high in the mountains. Maybe high in the mountains or something like this. Where
no, it's not high in the mountains. It's coastal and it's very cold because the Humboldt current's coming up from Antarctica. But yes, try it and it will save you so much money.
Well, the next spot for us in America, it is either the Finger Lakes.
Yes, we love
that have an exceptional terroir for Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, and the Valley, Evelyn, that's for us, the Niagara Valley on the Canadian side. I mean, I've tasted some Pinot Noir from the Valley that are to die for. I mean, I got into a blind tasting. I'm sorry.
Would you ever carry them? Would you?
I tried. Can't sell it.
Not yet.
Nobody wants to buy it.
Not yet. Not yet. Nobody wanted Finger Lakes for the longest time, and now
still.
We see it. We see a lot more of it. Evelyn wants to know. She's headed to Niagara. She wants to know which producers.
Oh my God! Well, in this
that's so hard.
in this Canadian that we all know, that's an easy one. And oh my God, what's it? A Chateau. But Evelyn, there's not that many of them. There may be 15 of them, and they all line up one after the other one along the road. I mean, that's that. Just go there. But oh my God, what was the name? Because I was fooled in a tasting a few years ago here in Connecticut. Some friends of mine, they said, Serge, tonight we're having some Burgundy. We'd like to have your opinion. Why don't you join us? And they had a couple of blind wines. All right. One of the blind wines, oh my God, I'm all about it. Oh my God, we're on Chambon-Musigny. I can see it. It's from the crew. But I have this. And I went on, they let me go. And further I was going, deeper I was getting because it was so wrong. It was from the Finger Lakes.
That's fantastic, though.
Yeah.
That's great. They don't do a ton of.
I said it to many friends.
If you want to invest
right now, if you want to invest in a vineyard today, if I would win the lottery tomorrow, I would drive right up to the Finger Lakes right now.
You know what? It's not that expensive, which is crazy. That's why they've got a lot of really great experimental producers there, but that's fantastic. All right, I'm going to open the floor to everybody else. Does anyone have any questions? We're already sort of at time, but if anybody has any other questions that haven't gotten answered,
David,
let me know, or unmute your mics. Feel free. Your chance to talk to Serge the famed.
Jane, hello. No, Jay's
Hi,
got
Serge. I
Hi.
have a question. Actually, my parents are in Connecticut. I'll be seeing them in about 2 weeks, so I'll be sure to do some shopping while I'm there.
All right.
Connecticut.
Yeah.
Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Douglas? Yeah.
Yeah, they're in Stratford. Yeah, we're gonna do Christmas in June. So I wanted to ask you, how do you decide like what wines you're gonna represent? I'm sure you taste a lot more wines than you can, represent given the time constraints. So how do you decide?
Okay, it's all about balance. It's what my book needs. Do I need this profile? Do I have this? Is there a price? Does it fit a price point into our book? Do we have a hole over here? It's like, when we go to a restaurant again and you see wines, you have 5 wines under $60. Then after that you go up to 200. Say, okay, there's a sweet spot over there. That. So I do exactly the same thing. But at the same time, is there a market for this? So I look at the market. Is there 15 other wines like this at that price in the area? Because then I'm going to be competing with this. And it's like a generic Côte de Rhône. My God, you got into a store, the word Côte de Rhône, there's maybe 50 of them. And you say, why the hell would I bring another one? What does mine have to be so special that I could penetrate that market? So I got to be very exclusive, and getting into a store, to a restaurant, say, you have this on your shelf, but I would like you to taste mine. I never say mine is better, mine is different. So why don't you do this? Yes, but Serge, I already sell 3 cases of that wine per week because we have a steady clientele. I won't touch it. So I always have to find the niche at some place. So it's when I taste wine. So I go, as we were talking about Elizabeth a few minutes ago. Let's see, we are in the Rhone Valley, we are in Gigondas, and you taste 15 Gigondas. Okay, out of 15, you shrink this down to 2 or 3, and then eventually it's okay, I'm going to try to work with those 2 here for different reasons. One would have more Grenache, one would have more Mourvèdre, one will be coming from the mountain of the Montmirail behind, that's more rustic, more powerful, that kind of stuff, and then the one close to Baume de Venise, where it's lighter, more floral. So okay, well, I'm going to work with. Do we need this? Or who I would sell it to? And I know I personally have a lot of fun talking to sommeliers that we have in the area, like a guy at the Welk in Westport. I mean, we sit down and he's passionate about wines. He loves the wine. He traveled the world, and then I don't even have to say anything. The wine can talk for themselves. So there is a market for this kind of customer. But the amount of effort that I have to put behind this is ridiculous. But it's fun. This is why we are in the wine business. So this is how I decide. Sometimes I say, okay, I can't help myself. I gotta have this. It's too good. I can't let it go. And some of the times, okay, can I sell it?
All right. I have another question. First of all, Vouvray recommendations, and second of all, I think this is a really interesting question from Neil. What is the perception in France of American wines, and has it changed as the years have gone by, or do they still think not so highly of the wines?
Let's be very honest, there's not much of American wines in Europe, period. And forget France, because the first market was England, because England was always more open than any other country, because they're not producing wines themselves, so because of that, they were the first one to bring Australian wines, New Zealand wines. They were the first one, always
They also have really, the way their import system works, you can just import, like a retailer can import, anyone can import, and it's not expensive.
I don't know, a producer sells directly to a retailer.
The American wines in the UK are terrible, and I know this because I teach classes to the UK, and I just can't. I mean, I don't want to teach any classes on American wine anymore because the stuff they get is just dreck.
Well, it has to go with food. I'll go back to another story. When I arrived in the country, and I was invited by Gourmet Magazine to do a wine tasting on a Sunday afternoon, and it was organized by Gourmet Magazine. And we have tables. So I have a table that is sold Burgundy wines in front of me, because people are paying $250. So a couple is $500 on a Sunday afternoon. And I had nothing. I had no one in front of me. And every single California producers had the lineup. And so us, the Italian, the Spanish, that kind of stuff, we're all talking to each other because there's no one else to talk to. And finally, it's a woman that came to me, and she comes in, she, with a beautiful French accent. She asked me, "So, are you French?" Well, I said, "I'm a kind of." So why? She said, do you wonder why you have no one in front of you? I said, "Well, yeah." I said, "I would like." I said, "You're the first one addressing to me today, so that's pretty nice." Well, she says, "Because you don't understand the American culture." I said, "Please feed me with this." I said, "What do you mean by that?" She says, "It's going to be very simple." She said, "I live in Paris for 12 years myself." So she said, when you guys order a steak in a restaurant in Paris, it's about that big. I said, "Yeah, that's kind of true." She says, "Us, we have, it's 18 ounces. It's a piece of a beef that we have in the plate. The fork and the knife that you guys have in Europe, and you eat with 2 fingers like this, and you go with the fork, very delicate. Us, the steak, it's a steak knife. It's a hunting knife that we have. This is how we slice the steak." So, and she went on, she said, "Your cars, you all have small cars with small tires, and you go fast like there's no tomorrow. We have big cars, big tires, make a lot of noise. We don't go anywhere with this." But she says, "This is our culture. So we like our big steak with our big knife with a big cap." I said, "Okay, interesting." So at the same time, you reverse this, now go with a big cab in Paris. What kind of food does it go with?
Yeah.
It doesn't really work. A big California Chardonnay with the oaky flavor and that kind of stuff. There's no food on earth, but over here that would support that, and vice versa.
Well, I think I do, in fairness to California, things have definitely changed and evolved a bit,
Well, more
but
and
they
more.
also make everything in France. There's not a need really to go outside of it. And if you don't have that, they're the biggest importers of port. They're the biggest importers of German wine. I mean, a lot of, they get whatever the holes that they need to fill, especially at that low level, the economy level. They don't always get that from Languedoc, which
No.
they often get it from, Spain and France as well. So, I mean, I was really always interested to hear that for the longest time, France was the biggest importer of port. And it was like
Everybody has a source. Everybody has a sip of port. But let's go back to France and the US. Let's go. That's very important. In the US, we have 50 states. It's a continent. We say France. France is just a bit bigger in territory than Texas.
So crazy.
Okay, so we should talk about Europe, not France, not Italy, not Germany, because we talk about New York, New Jersey, Philadelphia, Philly, and so on. And we are comparing orange and apples. That's we can compare maybe the culture, the French culture, the Italian culture, and to find a state in the US. It's okay. Is there a Italy here somewhere that kind of look like it? Because you don't compare the Midwest to France or to Italy. I mean, it doesn't work.
All right, last question. Jonathan and Patricia wanted to know Vouvray recommendations, and I'd also just like which wines. You have a bunch of wines on Wine Access right now. A bunch of them are on my page. Did you want to? I mean, this is going to live in time immemorial, but because we have a bunch of we have the Chinon there.
The Chinon, yeah, and we just shipped another 60 cases yesterday or something like this. So we have plenty of that. The Vouvray is arriving. It's on a vessel that is parked under the bridge or something like this. Yeah, your Vouvray is parked over there.
Okay, so that will be on my page also because I love that. The Bourillon, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I love that wine.
Yeah. That is there. They just ordered some Alsace. They just ordered some Pinot Blanc. They tasted plenty of wines and the Pinot Blanc.
Bordeaux also that you have?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
No, because I was waiting to have the right vintage. It's going to be Amelie's wine, the Chateau Amélie, and it's going to be Chateau Ribabon Cabernet Franc. I want her to taste. I want her to taste that. That will be for them. And she has some Gigondas now that she's tasting. It's a Gigondas called Cuvée de Mon Rêve. It's a little piece of land that Yves Chalon has just under the Dentadon.
And I am going to ask if maybe she could give that a try, because I want you guys to have that too. It's a great, the Chablis is just, it is
Okay,
exactly what Chablis should be. And, you know, interestingly, why, okay, I don't want to get into more of this, but you know what? Like, I do feel like, why has Chablis wound up being able to maintain, whereas I guess it's a Chardonnay grape versus, you know, Sancerre and Puy-Fumé have wound up getting overblown, and it's just Chardonnay, I guess. I mean, or it's just where Chablis, the slight difference in terroir, the hills, you know, it's rolling, and I guess that's it, right?
But
I
are you
mean,
talking about the wines or the price, or what are you
no,
talking about?
we still have great acidity, and the
Oh.
wine, the nature of Chablis has not changed dramatically. Like
No,
it has
cooler. It's
Sancerre.
cooler climate.
Yeah,
It's cooler climate, and the valley. You've been to Chablis. Chablis, you have all those kind of funnel, and this is where the vineyards are, and they have cool climate soil, and it works. That's the beauty of Chablis. The Chardonnay
stays the
on
same.
cool climate. That me personally, come on. If you offer me Puy-Montrachet, Chassagne-Montrachet, Meursault, and Chablis, big chance I'm going to go straight to Chablis.
yes, I love Chablis too. It was my first, it really, like after Riesling, Alsace Riesling, which was, you know, how could you not love that? Chablis was the next. Well,
Really,
Serge,
really.
you are amazing. Alyssa wants to know, is the Charlie Nicole available at Dodds?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The answer is
Yeah.
yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's
And it's the
2017, Alyssa.
It is the 2017. Yeah, that I was able to get their last bottles of 2017,
So
because the
insanely good.
acidity of 2017 is
Off the charts.
beyond.
It
It
is
is
delicious. Yes,
what Chablis is supposed to be.
it does. Yes, it does need some cheese, but I'm good with it alone, because, like, you know, I can drink.
some more.
I could drink a pot of acid and I would be good with that. All right, Serge, you know I love you, and I can't wait to see you at some point soon.
Soon.
I know, soon. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. This is so fun, and I'm just so glad that thank you for giving us the opportunity to have this chat and your interest and everything. So go to Dodds, which is, I will post the link again.
Or worst to worst, Elizabeth said, if it's complicated, good, just get to me. Just
Okay.
get to us, and we will reply to you with Dodds.
Okay.
We will CC Dodds, and he'll take care of you.
Serge Doré Selections is how you're going to find him. I will post it up, but you know, I can tell you that I've known Serge for a very long time, and nothing, even the Languedoc wines, nothing that he tastes, nothing that he brings in is not delicious. Like, everything is delicious. It's all really, it's as thoughtful as he is. So Serge, you're the best. Thank you, everybody. And we're going to sign off now. I will.
Thank you, everyone. Nice to Evelyn. Special thanks to special hello to Manitoba.